Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Hello everyone, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips and I will be your host for the next hour. And today's show is going to be about Déjà Vu experiences. And as you know, Unlocking Your Truth is all about metaphysics and spirituality. So we love talking about anything under that subject.
And any other subject.
That's right. You're welcome to call in, of course, because this is a talk show, and you go right to info@drlesliephillips.com. And of course, we usually start with a topic of the day, and the last 40 minutes of the show, the telephone lines are open, and we love for you to phone up and ask questions so that I can give you a spiritual insight on your question.
So actually, when you think about it, is this a talk show or is this a listening show?
It's both, isn't it? It's a talking, listening show. So, folks, Déjà Vu. What is Déjà Vu, and have you ever experienced it? There's actually been a lot of scientific studies on Déjà Vu experiences, and different studies have reckoned that anywhere between 66 and 96% of the population have had a Déjà Vu experience. So what is Déjà Vu? So Déjà Vu is the strong sensation that an event or an experience that you are having right now has already been experienced in the past. So have you ever had a Déjà Vu experience? I know I have. Lots of times, actually. So many of mine have actually been in my dreams. So maybe you would call that a premonition rather than a Déjà Vu experience, but I often have had experiences where I've met people for the first time in a dream and then met them in real life, for example. And it's a bit spooky. So, have you ever had a Déjà Vu experience, Corey?
Oh, yes. Every week on the show when I read questions out and I go, did I read that question out yet?
Yeah. I know. Actually, that's true, isn't it? I have that every week on the show as well. So what's the spiritual explanation for a Déjà Vu experience? And what are some other explanations that the scientists have come up with? Well, you might have heard me on the show before talk about dream experiences, out-of-body experiences, the astral plane, and so on. And so you have a physical body, and you are experiencing your waking consciousness in the physical world of form. But every night you go asleep and you go into non-physical reality for a time. So for a time you leave your body and you have some other experiences in another reality called the astral plane. And the astral plane is very closely associated with the earth plane, but it is an expanded playground for you to have different experiences. So whereas the physical world is limited by time and space, the astral world is not. And what that means is that oftentimes people can experiment with life choices and life scenarios on the astral plane. So, for example, let's make something up. Let's say you've got a choice between two potential husbands or three different job offers. And how do you know which one to choose? Because in physical reality, you really can only choose one, unless they're part-time jobs or husbands that believe in polygamous relationships. But what often will happen with something like that is that on the astral plane at night, you'll try out the 2 different husbands to see how they work out, or you'll try out the 3 different jobs
Rent to own.
to see if they work out, and then decide which of those choices you want to manifest in physical reality. Now, I made up some funny examples just to illustrate, but that's what déjà vu is, that you have experienced it before on the astral plane, and then when it is happening in physical reality as a physical creation and a physical manifestation, you've retained some of the memory of that astral experience. And so that déjà vu moment is, wow, yeah, this has happened before. And it has. It hasn't happened before in physical reality necessarily, but it has happened before in your astral plane reality.
Well, how would you create that scenario? For instance, if say we go down to the States or something like that, and we're traveling around, and we're sitting there in traffic, right? And going, sitting behind this truck blowing out diesel fumes into the car, and all of a sudden you go, man, I feel like I've been here before. How do you explain a déjà vu in that manner, an astral plane visit of the future in a place you've never been? I understand the place you've never been, but the circumstances I don't understand.
So I'm not sure I completely get your question.
Okay. So we go to Phoenix, Arizona, and we've never been there before, and we're sitting in traffic, and we're sitting behind this big, huge purple truck that's spewing diesel fumes at us, and I go, hey, I feel like I've been here before. This, I've had a déjà vu of this. I'm having a déjà vu of this. So how do you have an experience on the astral plane of something? I can understand visiting a place and having a déjà vu of the place, but not of like sitting in traffic behind this purple truck spewing diesel fumes.
Why not? I think
no,
the same. I think the same explanation's valid.
But, yeah, okay, but isn't that sort of like a future event? We can't.
Well, let me give you some examples of future events that I have had in my dreams and then experienced in physical reality. So when I was a pharmaceutical business development executive, I would do a lot of traveling and have a lot of meetings in all sorts of places that I'd never been before. And oftentimes I would dream of the people I hadn't met before I met them. So, for example, one time I had to go to Amgen in California and meet a business development director there that I had never met. And I dreamed the exact location, what it looked like, the meeting room that we would be in, and the person I would be meeting with, down to every detail of what he looked like and the conversation that we had. And then I got on a plane in physical reality and went and had that experience in physical reality.
But wouldn't that more, as opposed to being a déjà vu, wouldn't that be a premonition?
Well, it is a premonition, but it is also an explanation for a déjà vu. So the example I gave you, I had a very clear memory of my astral experience. We don't remember all of our astral experiences down to that level of detail. And so I could have, if I hadn't had a strong memory of my astral experience, gone to that same meeting just like you in your purple truck and had the feeling that I'd been there before, and it would be the same explanation. I just wouldn't have had the same depth of memory about it.
So would I be wrong in saying, or would I be right in saying, that a déjà vu is also a living out of a premonition?
Yeah, you could describe it that way. So, what are some other explanations for déjà vu experiences? I've given you my concept, my belief around it. But like I said, this is something that scientists are very curious about, and they've studied it. And so, for example, obviously pharmacology and drug use comes into play here. And so I'm sure
Deja vu in a bottle.
Yeah, I'm sure certain recreational drugs cause people to have that type of experience, but also there's certain drugs that they can prescribe, for example, to relieve flu symptoms that have resulted in people having déjà vu experiences.
Some of our listeners are sitting there, what is it? Name it.
Well,
pen in hand.
amantadine and phenyl propanolamine. So it was a case where a chap was prescribed those two drugs for his flu, and he found that he was having déjà vu experiences all the time. So he completed his course of treatment because he quite enjoyed it. And then he reported it to his doctor and the psychologists, and then they studied it. But apart from that, there's another one you might find interesting here, which is that they actually have shown an association of déjà vu with epilepsy, with temporal lobe epilepsy, because that they've sort of, they've proposed that it's possibly a neurological anomaly related to improper electrical discharge in the brain, creating a strong sensation of an event or experience, as though it's already happened in the past. And it says that most people suffer mild, non-pathological epileptic episodes regularly. So everybody has these little jolts that go on in their brain in a minor way, and the scientists have proposed that is the explanation for déjà vu.
Yeah, I can see that, but again, that doesn't take into consideration going to Arizona and seeing this purple truck spewing diesel fumes in traffic. I can see when somebody's having a seizure, that when they come out of a seizure, that they're displaced, and that even though they weren't what I would call conscious during an episode, there's still a certain amount of consciousness there. So it's sort of like you wake up and you go, oh yeah, I feel like I did this before.
Or that there's like a double take that goes on in the brain.
Yeah.
There's some other scientific research which says that an experience registers in both the left and right hemisphere, and if there's a slight delay between when it registers on each side of the brain.
that's an interesting one. Just quick enough to go, there's an echo here, echo here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mind echo.
Yeah, and then obviously there's a lot of memory research about it. Let me see if I can summarize it quickly.
Yeah, memory is one thing, but again, never been to Phoenix, Arizona, show up there once, see the blue truck. You can't tell me that's my memory. Well, I've never been there.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously talking about metaphysical explanations, not necessarily the blue truck, but there is another explanation when you go to a place you've never been to before and you feel like you recognize it, and that is that you have been there in another existence.
Yeah, but when you were talking about the medical society.
Yes, I was, but I brought up another spiritual explanation as well.
Oh yeah, past life stuff there's no question.
Yeah, so let's see. And the memory research, the gist of it is that I think you've laid down a memory, but that memory isn't stored. The way that memory is stored is that it's when you bring it to the surface, you reconstruct it, as opposed to having it stored as that clearly well-defined experience that it was at the time that it happened. And so sometimes in the reconstruction, bits of it can get lost, bits of it can get slightly changed. And if you've got an experience that you're having now that's a close enough match to some memory that you've got from the past, then they hypothesize that that can cause a déjà vu experience.
I have another one.
What's that?
Psychic connection. Psychically being connected to someone else. Telepathically picking it up. So you go to Arizona and you're sitting behind this truck and you pick up somebody else's.
Someone else who goes on that route every day and gets stuck behind the truck.
Well, you can even, the car in front of you or a couple of cars in front of you was stuck behind that truck. And you telepathically picked up that thought.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't say that that's outside the realm of possibility.
No, everything's possible. Yeah. I'm just saying, for conjecturing, I'm conjecturing that one.
Very good.
Yes, I think so.
And actually, when I was, because obviously I looked on Wikipedia just for scientific stuff, and they had a list of other terms as well, which I'd never heard before, which are related to déjà vu. So they have déjà vécu, which is where you feel that you have a memory of something, and you have all the details of what happened in the memory, but actually it never happened. I'm sure I've had that.
Oh, but that experience never happened?
No, you remember it. So let's imagine, let's say 10 years ago, there was a robbery at your local liquor store and your friend witnessed it. And then the friend told you. And then 10 years later, in your memory, it's suddenly become your memory and you were there.
It's sort of like that. The memory I have of buying you that beautiful diamond necklace for Christmas last year. Was that the one?
Well, jamais vu, which is another one, which means I've never seen it.
Never seen it.
Yeah, jamais vu, something that is described a familiar situation which is not recognized by the observer. Okay. So it's something that they have experienced before, but they don't recognize it as something that they've experienced before.
That's like my daily life.
Mine too. And then presque vu, which is almost seen, and it's that feeling, when you're on the epiphany of a revelation, that you're just about to get some amazing insight, and it never ever quite surfaces.
Again, my life. But, come on. Well, why would they have to? I mean, isn't that just normalcy? I mean, just life.
Well, I'm sure psychologists have probably given this names because there probably are people who have it to an extreme degree. And
we do.
Yeah.
Jamais vu, when we put our keys somewhere and never find them, we know we put them somewhere.
Well, and you know what? Given how the prevalence of dementias and Alzheimer's disease and all of that, it's just taking off exponentially in our population as the population grows older, and so I'm sure all of this stuff is becoming more common. And then the last one was déjà entendu, which is the experience of or feeling sure that you'd already heard something. Yeah, so folks, déjà vu, the spiritual explanation being that you have had a trial run on the astral plane during one of your out-of-body experiences, and then you've manifested it into physical reality.
Santa Claus would be jamais vu.
Actually, and that just made me think of one other sort of possibility, and that is that, a lot of us in the spiritual community, we work on manifestation, and sometimes what we'll do is we'll visualize something before it happens in great detail with the purpose of manifesting it consciously. And I suppose that it's possible to have a sort of something that approximates a déjà vu experience when something that you've consciously visualized really strongly actually manifests in physical reality. Anyway, on that note, folks, we're going to go to a short break. Hello everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips and I am your host. I am also an intuitive reader and spiritual teacher, amongst other things. So Corey, do we have an email question?
I have a couple of questions from your last week's Wednesday night
Coffee, Tea and Intuition.
Coffee, Tea and Intuition that we have at Been Around Books in Maple Ridge, last Wednesday of every month. And this is an interesting one, actually. Got me thinking. So she or he wants to know, are the Akashic records set in stone? If they are, how does free will work? What would be the point in having free will? And what about divine timing?
Okay, great question. So for those who don't know, the Akashic records are a record of everything that ever was, everything that is, and everything that ever will be. So it's a record of everything that occurs on this planet, or at least the Akashic records of this planet. And so, but it's a record of, so think about that. So it's everything that's happening now, everything that ever happened in the past, everything that ever happened in the future. And it's also a record of all probable possible versions of everything that could happen. And so where free will comes into play is free will comes into play because the choices that you make allow you to navigate your way through that network of possibilities and probabilities. And so in using your free will, you're deciding which of those potentialities becomes the manifested form of that particular event. And so not too dissimilar to what we've been talking about actually in terms of déjà vu. In your astral experiences in déjà vu, you're navigating different probabilities and different possibilities and deciding which one gets manifested. So that's my explanation of the Akashic records, and so it's not that your whole life is mapped out and every event that happens in it is set in stone. You have free will and you can navigate through the sort of probability matrix of reality of all possible occurrences of things. And then divine timing is about everything unfolding in its own right timing. I believe we've got a phone call, folks. So we're going to take the phone call now. And so, yeah, here we are. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Who am I talking to?
Hi, this is Susie again.
Hello, Susie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. How can I help you today?
Good. Very good. Okay, well, I'm feeling like there's been some significant shifts. I've been doing a lot of personal growth work, and I'm just wondering if I can do a quick check-in with you on the areas that I've been working on the root chakra and the second chakra. You know what I mean? The second and root.
Sure.
And the reproductive, basically. I did it. So that's my question.
Okay, sure.
I don't know if you want me to be more detailed.
Well, I'll tell you what comes up, and then if you feel like you want to give me more details to get a more focused answer, then feel free. But I'll just take a look on what you've given me, and we'll see what comes up. So keep your eyes open.
Okay.
And I'm just going to tune into you. It'll just take me a minute. So, I think what I'm actually going to do is also give you a healing while I'm looking.
Okay.
Because what I'm seeing is, it does feel like you've been releasing, but it also feels like what's happened in the releasing, that you've brought to the surface some things that you were, well, there's layers of stuff often stored in these things, and so it looks like you have sort of brought up a new layer or level of stuff to be released, and so but you brought it up, but you haven't completely eliminated it from your system. And so I'm just going to give you a hand. I'm just saying it's still hanging around in your energy field. It's sort of like you brought it up to release it. You even sort of loosened it up, but just didn't completely finish eliminating it. And so I'm just going to give you a hand now to let that go, because it's pain, for want of a better word, and I kind of need to help you release it in order to be able to see underneath it, because it's quite black. So, now, the ulcer that you told me about on a previous occasion, to me looks like it is healing. It looks like it's shrunk in size. It looks like that looks a bit better to me.
Good.
Yes.
This is brilliant. I just actually should mention, I went in and had some biopsies taken of the area, and it was about only 4 days ago now. So I'm feeling like it feels sensitive in there because of the biopsies, because they took out quite a few. But on the other hand, it feels better in some ways, like you say, like it's almost like, because the biopsies are small, right?
Yeah.
Compared to the...
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's great. Really happy to hear that.
Yeah, and it may be also that just the fact of going for the biopsy is just one of the things that stirred up more stuff to come up to the surface as well, right?
Yes.
So...
That's right, yeah.
So then just looking at the tissues in the reproductive area, and remember on previous occasions I've told you that I see sort of like an area of stuff in the lining of the uterus. That's looking a bit better to me as well.
Oh, good.
There's still stuff there, but it's not. It's lighter. It's not as heavy as on previous occasions. And it just looks, you're still clearing out some fear. You're still clearing out some energy from the past. You're still clearing out some pain, but it's moving, which is what you want. You want the energy to be moving. Okay, so now I'm going to look. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, ironically, when I did this biopsy, which was quite biopsies, it was a big decision to go ahead with that, and I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. And then what's interesting is that I felt a huge shift in energy afterwards, sort of a positive shift. It was like this big relief. It was sort of a very interesting, anyway, that's a long story, but I just thought that was very interesting.
Well, I think you sort of built up a lot of well, for want of a better word, resistance about it. And so once you've been through it, there's nothing to resist anymore.
Right. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to just switch my focus and look at the first and second chakra instead of looking at the physical tissues, and see if there's any other perspective from there. Well, I'm seeing in the first chakra you're starting to run yellow vibration, and the yellow vibration is a vibration of wanting to create your life from joy. So it looks like there's a part of like this has been going on for such a long time, you know, and I've been experiencing my life through the filter of this for such a long time, and it just looks like that shift as well is it's like looking at whatever the future has in store, it really looking at letting go of experiencing your life through that filter, and instead experiencing your life through joy and ease. And so that yellow vibration, it just looks like you're just starting to run that through your first chakra to alter the vibration there. And to make you realize that you don't have to have this, you know, heavy, serious thing being the predominant energy that is governing the way that you're living your physical reality. So you're starting just at the beginning of a new growth cycle in your first chakra. I'm also seeing that I'm just going to give you a little healing in the first chakra, because I'm seeing it's just like a little, almost like a little metal bar going across the chakra.
I know.
It's that thing again.
Too. I keep seeing the same thing, and I've worked on releasing, but I somehow keep coming up.
Yeah, and I know that we talked about that before, but I think before it came up when I was looking in the reproductive system.
It goes like from hip to hip, kind of across.
No, this one is just it's just in the first chakra.
Oh, I see.
So I'm just moving it out of the first chakra. But yeah, it's similar to the other thing that we saw the other time.
I know, it's so weird.
Okay, and then and so as we've been talking and as I've been working on it, that yellow vibration's really flooding through the first chakra, and and so then I'm gonna look at the second chakra now, just to see. And I'll also give you a healing in your second chakra. So I'm seeing a red vibration, but I'm also seeing in the center of the energy center some gray past time energy. So I'm just going to help you bring that energy center into present time. See if we can help you process some of the past time energy that's stuck in there. As I'm working on the second chakra, the ovaries are also sort of popping up for me to look at for some reason. So I'll give the second chakra a healing, and then I'll just double back and have a quick look at the ovaries, and then we'll have to go to a break. So I've got the energy moving quite nicely in the second chakra now. And it looks like the vibration is now it's more of an orange, and it feels like the orange in a furnace, transformational energy.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
All right, so then just a quick look at the ovaries, and I'm just going to clean off the ovaries. There's some stuff coming up in both of those now. So I'm just going to ground your ovaries, give them a grounding cord, and let them just clear out the energy that's coming up to be released from them. Okay, and then I'm going to have to go to a break. Thank you for calling. And
thank you.
Things are moving, things are shifting, and it's not stuck, and that's a good thing.
This is it. Okay, I'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Okay, folks, we're going to go to a break, and then we will be back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name's Dr. Leslie Phillips. We've got 15 minutes left in tonight's show. So if you would like an intuitive insight on something that's going on in your life, whether it's a relationship, career, money, health, life purpose, your own spiritual abilities, if you'd like a little bit of a free reading, then email info@drlesliephillips.com. What is the next question you've got there from the Coffee, Tea and Intuition?
This is a question again from last Wednesday night's forum. Why does God let us daydream? And does that mean that there is a chance for them to come true?
Okie dokie. Yes, we didn't get to that question. So why does God let us daydream? And is there a chance for this to come true? So is there a chance for this to come true? The answer is yes. Because, you know, we're always talking about you create your reality through your thoughts and your beliefs. If you want to consciously manifest something, then visualizing that thing is part of the manifestation process. So if you know, you have to know what you want, you have to be able to see it very clearly, believe you can have it, ask the universe for it, be open to receive it, and let go of any of your doubts about it. And so when you're daydreaming, then those are thoughts. Those are thoughts, those are thought forms. There is energy going into those daydreams. You're creating little packages of organized energy around whatever it is that you're daydreaming about. And those act as docking stations or homing stations for the universe to create a match. And so if you are daydreaming a lot about the same thing, for example, then I would think that it's fairly likely that you might manifest that thing that you're daydreaming about. So if you're daydreaming about, I don't know, you want to attract a new lover into your life and you daydream about it every day, then that's sending out a signal to the universe through those thoughts, through that energy that is being focused around that topic. Now, why does God let us daydream? So how to answer that part of the question? Well, you know, you are God. We are all part of God. God is one, and we are projections of consciousness ultimately out of that oneness. And so let's just think about the Bible and think about Genesis and how it says something like, Corey can probably quote this more directly than I can, but you know, basically God spoke the world into being. It's that same process of manifestation that in the focusing of the energy and intention and thought around a particular manifestation, that's how it comes into being. And so daydream is part of the creative process. It's how God creates and it's how you create. And you're not separate from God. So let's answer it that way. And I think that was Jodine's question, so.
I sort of figured that one out.
Yeah. So what's the next question?
God doesn't allow us or disallow us to do anything.
Back to the free will comment from the last question before that.
Yeah. Okay, I have another question, last question for this week from that last week episode. And this question is, can psychics tell the future or only potential?
Great question. And they're all around a similar theme, actually, those ones that I didn't get to in the Coffee, Tea and Intuition evening. So can psychics tell the future or only potential? So the answer to that is yes, and sort of yes to both, but more on the side of potential. And so all that exists is right here, right now. You create your reality through your thoughts and your beliefs. And by the thoughts, the beliefs, and the energy that you're carrying in the present moment, you're sending out a trajectory. You're sending out signals. And that trajectory, those signals, that focus of thought and emotion propels you to a future now moment, or a series of future now moments. And so when a psychic predicts the future, what they're basically doing is they're looking at the most probable future scenario based on the energy now. And that's why sometimes a psychic will predict your future accurately, and sometimes they won't, because there's lots of other now moments between this now moment and the future now moment that they have predicted. And so you can change your energy, your energetic configuration, your focus, your intention, and your thoughts anytime. And that can change your future trajectory. Now, sometimes, perhaps when you go to see a psychic and they tell you that something's going to happen, that might cause you to focus more on what they tell you. And that might then have an influence on what you end up creating for yourself in the future, which is one of the reasons why I prefer not to predict the future for people, because I don't want to influence their free will. I prefer to give them information so they can decide for themselves, and I prefer to empower them and teach you how to create your reality. But anyway, the answer to the question is they're tuning into a future potential or a future probability based on the energy as it is now. And if someone predicts a mass event, then they're tuning into the trajectory that mass consciousness is propelling itself towards. And sometimes it's close to a certainty because so much energy has been invested in that particular direction. But just look at the American election as an example of that. Everybody, not just psychics, but plenty of psychics, and all of the research scientists that do opinion polls, everyone predicted that Hillary Clinton would win. And it almost would have seemed like a certainty, and yet the energy switched itself on the last day to create a different outcome. So, we do have time for one more question, Corey, before the end of the show.
Sure, Trump didn't hire a whole bunch of psychics to change people's minds?
Oh, you know what? Maybe he did.
Okay, here's a question from Lena. Lena would like to know... Oh, I'm sorry, that's from Bully. Bully, and she wants to know, your weekly card of change really hit home today. I'm so disillusioned and confused right now with my creation of Coffee Crazy. I would be very grateful if you could have a look at the energy for me. I'm absolutely driving myself crazy trying to figure out to the point that I just want to sell it. Thanks.
Okay, and she's referring to, I have this thing called a freecardreading.com, that if you go there, you can ask a question for free. And when you sign up for that, you then get a weekly card, a weekly inspirational card for you to read yourself. And so that's what she's referring to when she said my weekly card of change. And all of those questions that go in at that freecardreading.com also come through to the radio station show as well. Okay, so she's created Coffee Crazy, and she's feeling disillusioned with her creation, and wants a little bit of a reading of the energy around it. So let's see. And it's so funny that it's called Coffee Crazy and it's driving you crazy.
Exactly.
Oh, maybe you should change the name to Coffee Calm. Let's see. I'm going to look at your energy and I'm going to look at the energy of the business as well. So, Booley, which is the name that we're calling you for the purpose of this question, I know that you have some spiritual information because I know who you are. And I know that you know certain techniques of a spiritual nature. And so here's a clue. You know, when you manage your business, you can manage it from the physical perspective, but you can also manage it from the energetic perspective. And it doesn't look to me like you are... The energy of the business is really diffuse. So diffuse that it almost looks like it doesn't exist as its own individual creation. And so I would just recommend that you... this won't make sense to most of the listeners, but put up a rose that represents the business, ground it, gold it, and give it a healing and separate your energy out of it. And what I'm telling you to do, listeners, is basically to use a sort of holographic thought form to give the business a healing and work on the business energetically. And I'm also seeing that you, when you're managing the business, you're taking a completely physical, you're just taking a completely physical focus. You're operating it totally from as a body, and you're not. It's almost like you're disconnected from God or disconnected from Source in the context of your business. You're just seeing it as a physical activity, as a physical job to do, and you're approaching it from that perspective. So I'm seeing if you incorporate some of the spiritual information that I know that you know in terms of managing your own energy, in terms of communicating with God, and in terms of managing the energy of your business, then it looks like what was your original inspiration still has a chance of turning out for you. But I'm seeing that that's what the problem is, that you just, it's like you're feeling crazy because you're just running around on a physical reality level, I don't know, putting out fires or doing all the stuff that needs to be done, and not remembering to just take a moment, turn within, meditate, heal yourself, connect with God, ask for information from God, and do some energy work on your business. And you also, I believe, know some conscious manifestation techniques that you could use to attract customers to the business. So I hope that helps you. All right, so we're at the end of tonight's show. We will be here next week. If you have a subject matter that you'd like us to talk about, then please send a suggestion to info@drlesliephillips.com. I would really, really love to have your suggestions.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.